Hello, I composed the piece Gyeongjeok, which translates into car honk in English. When I was on a trip, I was staying in the middle of an unfamiliar calm neighborhood, and then I heard a car honking out of nowhere. And no matter wherever I looked, I couldn't identify the source of the sound, and the sound was just coming from all directions. And it was a really surreal experience. So I decided to depict the experience of such sense of surrealism in a very eerily quiet neighborhood through this piece. And by a sense of surrealism, I mean the very mystical feeling of the wind gently blowing and carrying you to somewhere isolated and special, as if you were in a dream. This piece was composed for a string quartet, standard one, of two violins, one viola, and one cello. And it's a contemporary classical composition, which is made obvious by the use of extended techniques such as fettered vibratos, extended glissandos, which don't have the purpose of shifting from one note to another, but rather exploring the spectrum of pitches, elements of chance music. For example, the last three notes are of the performer's choice, extended chords, and frequent changes in time signatures. This piece heavily focuses on exploring harmony. And I use extended chords and seven chords and chromatic medians to give a sense of mystical feelings and grandness and epicness. And as I said, this piece also has a huge focus on the exploration of extended techniques, and also especially the exploration of dynamics, because I wanted to explore how the subtle musical choices inform the nuance of the phrases. For example, the main recurring motif, which is a swelling motif, and represents a sense of floating, is given its characteristic by subtle changes of dynamics. Now I'll be talking about the composition process. So as I said, I was first inspired by a car honk, and I decided to record it into my phone. And this is the recording. After recording the car honk, I decided to analyze the car honk so that I could manipulate it. So upon analyzing, I found out that the chord was a B major 7 chord with the major 7th as the bass note. And the stimulus informed my piece in multiple ways. And the first way is by informing my intro. So essentially, the car honk was a stacked chord of a B major 7 chord. So I decided to start the piece with a stacked chord. And I especially chose the chord to be an extended chord to give that mystical sense. But I decided not to literally use the major 7 chord, but rather replace the third with a perfect fourth to create a suspended chord so that it emphasizes the sense of dreaminess. The stimulus also informed the atmosphere and the main recurring motif. To give that sense of floating, I decided to create a motif that is swelling dynamic-wise, like So this is a recording of me playing the notes in the car honk and vocally singing some motifs. As you can hear, I initially thought of creating a swelling motif pitch-wise by pitch bending, like but decided to do it with dynamics. So here's the recording. So now I'm going to talk about my first draft. So I was initially heavily influenced by minimalism. Instruments enter one by one slowly. And there were lots of more gradual processes. But that didn't work out well because I wanted to explore more of the harmony, but having a fast harmonic rhythm wouldn't really show the elements of minimalism because minimalism is essentially gradual changes over a period of time. So I thought I wouldn't be able to explore much harmony within the given time, so I decided to divert my direction from minimalism to another genre. One of the challenges I encountered was sectional transitions. So there was a lot of chord progressions and motifs I wanted to explore. So I decided to play with cadences to kind of transition from one chord progression or motif to another. But that didn't work out well. It just didn't sound right. And another challenge was that I lacked a lot of variation in my music. I wanted to explore harmony, but the sound was really pretty much very linear. Each voice had roles, and it felt like they only retained the same role. So one part would only do the melody, the others would be just accompanying the melody. And it just didn't have much variation in sound, especially in rhythm wise. And so in my final draft, I decided to make some improvements. So the first edits I made for my sectional transitions was to make more obvious cadences to give clear structural differences. And I also made the previous section naturally lead into the next section by introducing the motifs in advance. So for example, bar 60 leads into bar 5 after the repeat sign by the second violin introducing the crotchet rhythm in advance. Or carrying a note to the other section. For example, in bar 38 to bar 39, the second violin carries the note to the next bar. And in terms of improving the lack of variation, I put a lot of minor vertical movements in each part so that there weren't any continuous semi-brief chord stacking. And I also made the motifs be played at different octaves and with different timbre in kind of a call and response format so that there would be more variation in sound. And also, upon rehearsing with the performers let me listen to different articulations. For example, in bar 101, they let me listen to both the arco and pizzicato version for the ending. And I decided to go for pizzicato because it gave more variation in the articulation. And finally, I used some transitional phrases. I made it more interesting by, for example, in bar 27 to 28, I made the two voices play the same, nearly same phrase, but starting at different periods or points, making them interlock and sound more interesting. And this is my first draft.